Welcome back to the third episode of the Woodwork. Today we have a special guest. We have Derek Prado. Biggest thing coming out of today would probably be the 30% pay cut from Harry Maguire that he recommended all players. Thought that was out of respect. Can definitely help pay some of the expenses at the club and is definitely the right thing to do in a time like this. I don't think anybody can really debate that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. That's a big thing to do for him. I'm glad he stepped up and was like, "Hey, look, guys, this is something we really need to do." So it's good for him.
Shows that he's a leader and can be actually the captain of the club.
I mean, he is our club captain.
Yeah, especially he came here from Leicester. He just fit in so well. He established himself, and now that he's doing this, it's really good for him.
Definitely. I think it definitely showcases his leadership and shows just how much he's growing at the club continuously, and how he's continuing to set the example for other players. Even though he might not be the oldest like Juan Mata or other players we have, he's still setting that example for the other younger guys, which I think is awesome. Other big news, the Prem is now suspended indefinitely. The FA had a meeting today with the EFL, and there's no more set date. They're not saying we're going to finish games by a certain time, so now they're suspending indefinitely.
Which is the right decision. It's a good decision made by them.
We've been talking about it for the past few days, and they finally said that.
I think it's a great decision. It definitely saves a lot of drama, I'd say. There's less chance of people being infected. The only sucky part pretty much is the staff is going to be underpaid probably, since there's no really revenue coming in from games. I mean, I think it's the best decision to make right now.
Yeah.
Another thing that could be a con about it is all these lower clubs, some of them they depend on actual tickets from games and stuff. There's no games. Some of them are gonna run down, and it's not gonna be good for them.
100%, Derek. That was one of the other things that we had. FIFA is actually donating $1 billion to help these smaller teams and to help them and keep them paying their wages and things like that. So that's getting to your point that some of these lower clubs, especially in the lower divisions, not as much the championship, but League One and League Two, they're actually having to offload players because they can't afford to keep them.
I heard they're donating an extra 125 million to the English Football League actually, on top of the 1 billion.
Which is again, I think that's the right decision, for sure.
But with all this, what does that mean for the Premier League? Do you think Liverpool's going to win the league? Do you think who's going to get relegated? How is all this going to be decided?
Well, I've heard two things, that they'll either resume it or they're going to avoid it, and either it's going to be a 22-team league next year, or they're just going to keep everything's going to stay the same. So for us, United will still be in the Europa League probably, and all the Champions League teams will stay. The teams that would have been relegated are going to stay, but they will promote the two teams from the Championship to the Premier League, so it'll be a 22-team league instead.
This isn't something that I've heard is an option, but I have talked with Mason about this before, and I think maybe it was Gary Neville that said it. I think they should actually expand Champions League and opposite.
Yes.
And I think that they should just allow the top 5 teams to participate. Because if you guys remember, back in the 90s, I think, the Champions League was more teams than it is now. There was 2 group stages. So I think that they should just do that, rather than try and just make a team that like United, we were on our way to a top 4 spot, so it just kind of seems silly to not have them in Champions League, or just say to redo the entire season, because a lot of clubs depend on that for revenue as well, and that's a huge revenue booster, as we know. And that's also the difference between players coming and going. Like a guy like Jadon Sancho, it's not a deal breaker for him, I would say, but a lot of players are turned off by the fact that there is no Champions League football. But I tend to agree more with Dylan on this. I think that I think that they're considering voiding it. A lot of sources close to the clubs are saying that they would be outraged if Liverpool received the title at this point, which I can honestly agree with that, because there's so much scrutiny around it, and if I was Liverpool, I'd kind of feel like, why am I taking this? I didn't really earn it at the end of the day.
It's kind of unfair to them, though. It's kind of unfair to them. I mean, they've had such a great season, and you're just gonna take away all of that. What if a player doesn't perform next year? That's not really fair to Liverpool.
I'm not saying that they should. I'm saying that a few clubs, and this is multiple sources that are saying this, would be outraged if Liverpool was actually given the title, given the current situation. Which I don't think that they'll avoid it. I think that they'll likely play behind closed doors and try to finish the game like we said on yesterday's episode, and they'll just bang out 3-4 games a week in a more of a World Cup type format. That's what I would like to see happen, but I don't know if it's going to happen, given the unpredictability of the virus, which we've discussed before. But since we have Derek on, Derek, I want to hear what you think about how they should finish the Prem, and if they should finish the Prem, or what do you suggest?
Well, if we look at the table now, they have 82 points. The nearest is Man City with 57. They're obviously killing it. I don't see how it would be unfair to give them it. Well, like, once they finish the games and everything, yeah. But we don't know if they're going to do that or not. But as of now, if this coronavirus really gets bad and it carries over into, like, the start of next season, which we don't know. It could do, but we don't know. I think it would be fair to give it to them, seeing as they have 82 points.
Yeah, I just did some math for it right now. If you should subtract 82 from 57, so that's Liverpool and Man City, that's 25 points. I'm pretty sure there's 9 games left, right?
Yeah, there's 9 games left for every Premier League team, no matter which one.
If Man City were to go on a 9-game win streak and got all points, they would get 27. If Liverpool were just to screw it up, and I don't know how, lose every game, they would mathematically lose the season. But that's just a big if, so maybe that's a factor they're thinking of. If something were just to happen like that out of nowhere, there's still a mathematical chance that Man City will win the league.
It's definitely a different conversation if Liverpool already had won the league, like if they already had like one more win, it'd probably be a different story. We'd already say give it to them. But no, it's kind of strange. It's going to be interesting what they say moving on to next season.
Yeah, I think that the most likely option will be that World Cup type setting. And I also think that they may push back the start of next season, which I think would be reasonable.
To give players a rest.
To give players a rest, but also so they can keep the transfer window the same length, so they don't have to shorten. Like we discussed on yesterday, it would be interesting to see if they would shorten it, because if they shorten it, that would only give a team like us, who takes forever to sign a player, the opportunity to only sign one person versus maybe we need 2 or 3.
Yeah, but we also said they could possibly extend it. Not sure yet, but it's an option.
What I've been thinking, instead of, having to buy players, is this a better time for clubs to start investing in their youth? Start really thinking about, what young players do we have and how can we improve their abilities going forward? Because obviously we have so many young players like Angel Gomez, Mason Greenwood.
That's what our club's built on pretty much, is like using the youth academy players. Teams like Man City don't do that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, Liverpool, you see it sometimes in the League Cups or the FA Cup, but you're not going to see like a Liverpool graduate coming into and just starting.
Since the Spurs pay cut that Daniel Levy has proposed is going to reduce Jose Mourinho's transfer budget. As we know, he likes to spend a ton of money in the transfer market, and that team needs a ton of money because it is absolutely awful, and god awful at that. So I would say that a team like Tottenham needs to invest in their youth a little bit more. They've got to get a little bit more creative with their limited resources that they have. But a team like Liverpool doesn't really need to worry about that as much, since they've already won the Champions League before, and they've still got loads of cash just sitting around, and they've got owners that will actually invest.
News out of Liverpool that they have stopped the pursuit of Timo Werner, and Man United are now the front runner. What do you think about that?
I like. What's the source?
Pretty sure it's from One Football.
Okay, not
the
bad, but not great.
Best, but not bad. I've seen it on a couple other pages. So
here's what I thought about it. Timo, striker. I think Ollie's like turning Martial into a striker, right? So like.
Oh yeah, he's trying to turn him into like a number 9.
Yeah, like a number 9 or whatever.
Which is what he should be playing.
If we also want Sancho too, and we've also got a very, like at the beginning of the season, Daniel James, he was pretty good when he scored those goals, and then he just hasn't scored since. Like we should figure a way to get Daniel James in there so we have youth in there, because he's still pretty young, But Timo Werner and Jadon Sancho, Martial, Rashford, we're just gonna be overloaded with players if we do make these signings.
Yeah, but then we can
Which is
rotate.
why I was keen on signing another center back.
Yeah.
If you get Phil Jones out, and Rojo's going to stay out because we can't. I don't think you can pay his wage anymore.
What about
when you're bringing on?
what
these other
about
players in.
Tuanzebe?
I actually love Tuanzebe. I think he's fantastic, but he's again one of those future players. I think the ideal partner. I said the other day it was Bai, but for the future it's going to be Tuanzebe.
Well, yeah.
I really like Tuanzebe.
What about Rojo?
Rojo, he's gone after this year. We'll likely sell him.
Well, we're recalling Smalling. If we don't get a center back in the transfer window, we have Smalling.
Roma's gonna buy. Roma's buying Smalling.
I don't think so.
Yes, they are. He's been absolute. He wants to stay there.
Yeah, he loves it. I'm okay with him leaving the club. Move on.
I'm okay with that. It's his time. Let him move on. I don't want Smalling back.
What center backs would you want?
Ideally, I heard today we contacted Umtiti's agent, which I don't like Umtiti. He's has too many lapses defensively, and I think he's too inconsistent and can't even get game time at Barca.
What about it's hard to pronounce his name, Umpikeko from Leipzig.
Oh, the French defender.
Upamecano or Konate. I like both of those center backs, but I think they're both Arsenal targets, and I think Arsenal will probably end up snatching one of them. I think Arsenal will probably end up snatching Upamecano, but I don't think either one of them is linked heavily to us. I would like to see more of a Ruben Diaz.
Oh, he's been linked with us before. I've seen that.
Yeah, I think he's a really good leader as well, and I think he's got the right amount of everything. But ideally, I would say Koulibaly.
Yeah.
Because I think he's got pace, and he also brings the ball into the midfield like Maguire. He could just do it better than Maguire.
But they play the exact same, so you don't want to.
But he's just a fucking wall.
Yeah.
He's a wall.
I mean,
man.
Maguire's good, but he's like not as good as Koulibaly.
I kind of feel like last summer it was either one or the other.
Yeah.
Like it was either Maguire or Koulibaly. But, I mean, I don't think you probably would get both.
Man U have ended their search for a left back, so they're sticking with Shaw and Williams, and they're going to let them fight it out for the starting spot. What do you think about that?
I
like
I
that.
think it's a good
I
idea.
like that idea.
Yeah, wasn't
Yeah, I
their
like that.
formation more of a? I don't know. They had Shaw and then they had Williams like above him. I
Yeah,
don't remember
back-
what
it
it
was
was.
a back-
like,
yeah,
like a
back-
left
it was a
wing
back
back
five.
kind of type shit.
It was a back five. They were playing Shaw at center back, which he wasn't bad there. He played there in a few FA Cup games and then against Man City. Other thing, Fred and Mourinho messages. I saw some messages. Like they've been leaking a lot of WhatsApp messages lately. I don't know why. Some got leaked with Bruno. So Fred, originally Mourinho had been criticizing Fred, and there was this notion that's been going around for the past few weeks that Mourinho didn't want Fred, this, that, and the other. But the messages say otherwise. There are messages from Mourinho to Fred saying, I really like you. You could be the player that this club needs, this, that, and the other. So Fred is saying that Mourinho did want me, and that's why he paid the amount of money that he paid for me. So he did believe in me in the end, and it kind of hurt that he would backstab him like that. But it's not the first time we've seen Mourinho do that, and it's definitely not going to be the last because he's doing it to end on Bailey right now. And some of these Man City matches, like we kind of spring off on the counter, but it's different.
Well,
I
it
feel like it's a
works
little
for
different.
us.
I like the encouraging signs. Because I know it's short term, is what I'm trying to say. I know that we're only doing this because we don't have the players. Before, now that we've had Bruno, you've seen the tactical shift. You've seen us apply the pressure consistently throughout. You saw spurts in that Man City game where we were applying the pressure to them and taking it to them versus taking it in the ass the whole game in our side, like when we went to Etihad. So I can see that the tide is turning and the tactical shift is coming, but we just need one or two more pieces to make that happen.
Yeah, I see. I don't know if you noticed, but when we play the smaller teams, like some of the Europa League teams, we're wondering like why is the team not performing? Like why aren't we just smacking them? But to me, I see it as like always trying to tire out the other teams, like trying to outthink them. He's letting them do all this work, and the second half comes around, our players haven't done as much work as the other team, and they're just smacking them on the counterattack left and right.
And they're just going through them.
With the formation, like almost like the 5 in the back, like we said, just easier to like pass the ball around and just move and just tire the other team out. So, and especially with the players that we have, like we have really good passing players in the midfield, which makes that a whole lot easier.
Going forward, would you want to see like 5 in the back or
No.
4.
No.
If we make it work, and I'd be fine with it.
I don't like Wan-Bissaka as a wingback. I don't think.
Oh, but he can do it well.
He's
I
at
think
that
he can.
stage.
I think he can play the right wing back pretty well.
Wan-Bissaka is amazing defensively, and I think you're putting too much pressure on him if you make him a wingback.
Well, he used to play winger at Crystal Palace in the under 21s, so he can go up.
But he's not a winger.
I know he's not a winger anymore, but
he's not a winger. He doesn't play like a winger. His best attribute is that he's a defender.
Hold on.
Which is why I think that Sancho will add only to how good he is defensively. Imagine a symmetrical right.
Yeah, it would be good.
With Aaron Wan-Bissaka. He will now not have to cover nearly as much ground as he's at now, and his tackle percentage will be even higher than it is now. Just think about that. And someone he can actually pass to that's not 30 yards ahead and already offside by the time the ball comes in. Switching to Bundesliga for a second, more kind of semi-positive coronavirus news. Signal Iduna Park, the Borussia Dortmund stadium, is now being used as a medical center. I thought that was cool from them. That's a good Samaritan thing to do. And again, they're trying to open the league. And the Italian FA today also said that they're going to aim for a May 20th restart, and it's going to be behind closed doors, which I thought was also interesting because as soon as whatever the first league to reopen is going to sweep the board on profits. They're going to absolutely reap all of the benefits because if you look at it from our perspective, holy shit, the Bundesliga is back. It's the first. Every football fan all over the world is going to be watching the Bundesliga or or Serie A at that point because it's the only thing that's on. So I think it's sort of like they don't want to bring it back too quick because that would be a bad thing. But at the same time, if you're the first league to bring it back, you're going to benefit the most from it. So if Serie A comes back first, that's going to put pressure on other leagues to bring their league
just
back.
Like that. I know there's this league in Belarus. I don't know what country it is.
Yeah, that have just.
I know that was going on, and yeah, that got a lot of attention because that's the only thing going on. So
yeah, because it's
the same impact.
Yeah.
I wanted to get back to what I said earlier about how we would manage Daniel James in a squad with all these attacking players. If we do get Sancho.
Tyler, you said something about that last episode, I think.
For sure. So I said that with the bringing in of Sancho, we talked a little bit about this yesterday, also because of Greenwood. I think that they both become a little bit more of squad players. I think, yes, like I said yesterday, Dan James has been heavily overused this entire season. He's a championship signing. He needs that time to really adjust and become himself. I think that he's done a great job considering, but clearly you saw his form start to drop a little bit.
I think he was a great deal. 19 million. If he becomes.
I thought it was 15.
It's 15, then 19 for the add-on.
Okay, but I think he's a fantastic signing, but he's not. Throw him straight into the team and let him play every Premier League, Europa, EFL Cup, and FA Cup game. He's not that kind of player.
He's been burnt out, I think.
He needs to become more of a rotational player. And I think that Sancho absolutely walks into this team. Like, he goes to a Liverpool, he's going to have to work for that spot. He's going to have to compete with Mane and Salah.
Say he goes to Chelsea.
To have a place in that team.
He walks into that team too? Or
No, he doesn't. Because they just signed Ziyech. They have Pulisic, Willian, Pedro. They've got a few guys that are already there. I wanted to ask Derek something. Derek, what do you think about the job that Ole's done? Would you keep him? Or if you had the opportunity to go get Pochettino, would you
I would say as of now, I think it's pretty good. The signings he just got, immediately there's a big effect into the team and what he's going to do with these signings, how he's going to use Bruno, how he's going to pulse throughout the team. It's going to be interesting to see how he does with that because he has made the good signings, but can he actually perform and get us to win stuff with these players?
But if you guys think honestly about it, do you really think that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the person that's going to bring us to another Premier League title?
If he makes the signings that he wants to make, and the team forms, and he gets help from the coaching staff and Sir Alex, I think he could do it.
Yeah, if he doesn't get fucked over, I think he could definitely bring us a title back.
Yeah, I think that I hope he's the one to do it. I hope and pray
It'd
he is.
be really cool too, because he's a club legend.
But you cannot go on the same run that we went on at the end of last season, next season. It just shows how loyal the club is to him, because they hadn't even sacked him yet. Like, if that was Mourinho, they did sack Mourinho. If that was certainly David Moyes, he didn't last very long, and Louis van Gaal.
I think they haven't sacked him though, because he hasn't gotten.
He's been getting a lot of leeway.
Yeah, but he hasn't got his chance to make the signings he wants to. I think before that January transfer window from last season, I think they've already decided that they wanted to keep him as a permanent, but Ed Woodward just wouldn't give him the opportunity to make the signings he wanted to. Think if he brought in a different center back during January transfer window, and it wasn't Jones and Smalling, it probably would have turned out better. And if we brought in maybe a different winger or a different midfielder, it might have been better, and it might have brought more life to the team.
I like Maguire, and I think he fits in really well, and also because he's English, so it kind of helps. It's easier to adapt. I get that, but we also gave Leicester the $80 million up front.
Yes,
it's not an add-on.
It's not.
We gave most payments are paid over a longer period of time, which to me just displays the inept mind of whoever is behind these deals. Why would you pay $80 million up front for a player if you don't know if he's going to work or not? Now we've got to recover all of that spending in a year like this, which also worries me at the same time. Is the club going to go out and invest $105 million to go buy Jadon Sancho? I don't know.
The money saved.
Where are we getting the money back from? What saved up? What is this, a bank account?
Okay, how much?
The revenue fluctuates.
Yeah, but let's think about it. We might have the money. We definitely do, even with the virus thing going on. But we definitely have the money for Sancho. The club is filthy.
Well, yeah, I mean, Manchester United is a multi-billion-dollar.
We got.
Yeah,
club.
I mean, okay.
I'm not saying that we don't have the money. I'm saying, are they going to spend?
What? Yes.
Because you know that they're cheap.
No.
You say that now. You say yes, but we have not moved like a Real Madrid in the past. For the past 5-6 years, we have not moved at a pace.
The thing,
like a Real
the thing
Madrid.
with Sancho is we've been working on getting him for so long. We're not going to stop right now. There's
no way we're just going to pull out like that.
I agree with you. I think Sancho will come. I'd give it about 75% odds, because I think he wants to come. But that's only if he forces the move. Derek, what are your thoughts on Fred?
At the beginning, it was pretty bad. I think
at the beginning of this season, when he first came.
When he came from Shakhtar.
Okay, yeah, he was shit.
Yeah, he was so bad.
So bad.
But he has definitely gotten better. But I think we slowly, the way we slowly brought him in was just a good way to do it. And I think he has a high work rate. You can tell, when he's on the field, he's noticeable. But I don't think he's really, I think he could be a key player. But with the midfield, if we do, have Pogba and Bruno, I just don't see him fitting in there. But that's a bit unfair, because he has worked his way up from being, told that he's horrible. In the last one, didn't you say it was Conte?
He is. Fred is our Conte. He is the low center of gravity, short and feisty midfielder that I feel like we've needed. He's been better than Conte this season. You can't deny that. Conte has not been good.
Yeah, just another free kicks. If you want to see some good Fred free kicks, just look up the training ground videos.
Notice how Bruno doesn't let Fred take any more free kicks.
So
Every
funny.
time it's them going up to the box.
He's like,
and
no,
it's
no, no,
Bruno
no,
and
no,
Fred,
no, no.
and Bruno will be like, duh.
Yeah.
I'm taking
That's
it.
so funny.
So, Tyler, you want the outro?
All right, guys. Thank you for watching. We really appreciate Derek coming on today, and please go follow him. His TikTok will be in the description, and thank you guys for coming.